This podcast sucks.
Troops smooching the dog show. Another new episode is coming up tonight.
Dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show.
You're listening to the one and only Dawgs Show. Your hosts, Troop Brenson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
That's us.
Yep. Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dawgs Show with Troop and Smooch. And we are 2 games in, Smooch, Georgia, with a 28-6 resounding victory over those Governors from Austin Peay. And how you feeling after a couple days of just rolling this around in your head, Smoochy?
Like you would expect. I feel like I've kind of completed the labyrinth and come out the other side. So I had a few. What is it they say over Locked On Bulldogs? They say buckets. I'm talking about this is a bucket game because you're just throwing up in something because you're so exasperated by what's going on. I kind of had a few of those moments, and then the frustration. I just want to wipe teams out every once in a while, and it did.
Yeah.
Kirby stays with his blueprint. We'll talk about it later. He's extremely committed to vanilla games against these weaker teams. He did that, but there were still concerns. But I feel like we're in a good place going into Tennessee, and it's obvious Kirby has been coaching in a way as to prepare for the game this week above all. So
I hope
here we
so.
are.
But yeah, everybody's going to say that. I mean, when we start looking for silver linings and feeling better about things,
Exactly.
fans are going to say, "Oh, we just didn't have much of the playbook available. We knew it was Austin Peay, and we're just focusing on certain things, all vanilla." And, at a certain point, you see all these other teams, Smooch, just scoring points at will. People running wide open. And it's like, okay, I feel bad. I mean, it's time to maybe put the third string in the first half, or some of these schools were just blowing the opponents out. And I felt like Georgia could have done that with Austin Peay. And to the point, Smooch, where it makes us question, is Gunner Stockton QB1?
Yeah.
Is Nate Frazier RB1? Or is this coaching staff as good as we thought it was? Those are questions that are heavy on a lot of our minds now. As like I said, we're already 2 games in, and neither game was really that satisfying.
Yeah, I've a lot of questions about Stacey Searles and where the offensive line play is and how they're coming along. While we constantly have guys missing assignments and constantly have guys injured both at the same time, that seems to be extraordinarily frustrating. But to your original question, yes, I thought about it this week. Is Gunner the guy? And is Nate Frazier more than just a complimentary back? Is he truly the centerpiece of the running back room? You watch Peanut run all up and down the field. You watch Bowens give one of the best inside 10-yard touchdown runs I've seen in a couple of years. You see those and you think, where is this from Frazier? You look at Gunner and you watch him not pull the trigger and be hesitant, and he's got a long release anyway, so when he doesn't pull the trigger, it really lets the pass rush get there, and then he gets hit in the mouth and throws a wobbler. And all of those, you just throw them into this cauldron of woe is me soup and see what heats up.
You don't want to feel that way with the next couple games coming up. Of course, Georgia and Knoxville this weekend, and then a week off, and then we host Alabama. And so you want to be building towards a team that is very young, and some of the players who are a little older, they're still young and experienced. And so you want to build on that. And I will say that this episode is not going to be about Mike Bobo. We could make an episode about Mike Bobo, but I don't see that was the issue Saturday because he's doing whatever Coach Smart wants him to do.
Right.
Coach Smart is a part of that game planning, and if you think that they didn't have certain plays available or they called plays that you didn't understand why they were doing certain things, or there was a lot of short passes and nothing downfield. Well, I guarantee you, Mike Bobo wasn't the only one who had the game plan.
Kirby Smart controls what people eat and what time they go to bed. He is not sitting there going, oh, I hope Mike Bobo runs this play now. Kirby gets what Kirby wants from each of his coaches. And the offensive play selection, it's dictated by Kirby, not Mike Bobo. It's handed off to Mike Bobo by Kirby, but it's dictated by Kirby.
Yeah.
That's an important thing to remember.
Yeah, during the game, I think Mike Bobo's calling the plays, but there's a lot that goes on a week of the game and game planning that Kirby has his hands in. So I guess one of the main things, and we have it's funny how we can be so gung-ho one way, but then you start showing us evidence and we'll reevaluate. And the question is Gunner Stockton good enough to lead Georgia, or is he just, is he going to get more and more exposed the more opportunity he gets? You would hope that he gets better, but maybe some of his issues are starting to come to light when the feel-good story could end really quickly.
Yes.
And I just don't know. And people are going to say, people always love the backup quarterback smooch. They do. I don't care
So
who it
true.
is. And people will be screaming for Puglisi. But that won't be Puglisi's at least a year away.
Yeah.
So if he has to play, you get what you want, some of you guys, he's going to have some issues too, and you're going to be like,
Serious issues.
Let's get Gunner back in there.
And then when you do get Puglisi, whether it's next year or later, you're going to be crying for Jared Curtis right behind him. It's always going to be the next guy up is going to be the most popular. That's just the human nature.
So some of
Dawgs
Gunner's,
fan.
yes, some of Gunner's issues. I think we talked about it, and I guess to the naked eye, it looks like, okay, he won't pull the trigger. He won't throw the ball deep. He's too afraid for whatever reason, doesn't trust himself, doesn't trust his teammates, and he's just checking everything down. He's much more comfortable just dumping it off to a running back or throwing these screens. And the screens are called, but the check downs are totally something that he decides to do. He goes through his progressions, sometimes a little too quickly. I think he gets off a receiver too quick. And he checks it down and takes some of these plays end up being extended running plays, but you as an offense want to be explosive. And the longer you have to drive the ball, the more opportunity you have for a 10-yard penalty, back you up, get behind the chains, or a turnover, something. That's why you want to be able to be explosive and score quickly from time to time, a couple times a game.
Yes. Yeah, lightning. You got to have that lightning strike ability. One of the things I noticed about Gunner is, and we talked a little bit about this in the pre-show, he is waiting for receivers to break open instead of leading them to the open spot. On deep balls, he's wanting to make sure they clear and get behind the coverage. It's when you've got Talon Taylor and Zachariah Branch, if they're even, they're leaving. If they're running step for step with a DB, put the ball up. They'll go get it. That's what those guys are on the team to do. That's their job. And so, him trusting his receivers, not being, I think you mentioned this earlier, overly risk averse. Trust your receivers, cut it loose, and they'll go get the ball. Good things happen. I thought Colby Young had a great game. We just didn't get other players involved the same way. But, anticipatory throws is really what we're missing right now.
You just took the words out of my mouth. The anticipation is not there yet, and he's not throwing these guys open. I've seen several breakdowns, and they were like, he needs to throw it right now, and he's waiting a beat, maybe longer than a beat, to throw it. But then he's also, Smoochie's quick to leave the pocket. And we know that's part of his game, but your quarterback, I'd much rather him step up in the pocket, reset, and he knows where his receiver is going to be. I mean, they know the route trees. They know where these guys are supposed to be. And reset and find the receivers. That's your job. Your job. You might take a hit at the end of that throw. I don't doubt that he can take the hits, but he needs to be a quarterback first And I hope we see more of that. But I think his instinct is to go. We've seen it all his whole career.
Yeah, that does seem to be what his thing is. I don't know how. I've never really. Once against Marshall, he threw to the third receiver, and I can't think of another time he's made it to the third receiver beyond a check down, but the third receiver in a route combo. That the touchdown to Humphreys, I believe Humphreys was the third receiver on that play. If you look where his progression went, that's the type of thing and it could be play calling. That's fine, but this idea of quick scan the field, get your guy, and then put the ball where only he can get it. There's a touch of hesitation, and the hits Gunner's taking, some of those are his fault, Troop, because he's just keeping it a touch too long, and he's getting hit in the mouth.
The good thing, I think, with that is watching him in a couple of the last couple of days, I guess, looking more specifically at things, that his eyes are in the right place.
Yes.
I am watching him on his primary target and moving through the progression, but there's just something missing right now. And I don't, it takes a lot for us to be the negative Dog fans, the pessimistic Dog fans. We're always looking on the bright side of things and trying to be more even-handed about our assessment. But that just may be who he is. And, you may have to win close games. But we'll find out. And when we talk about the other part of it with Nate Frazier, is he that guy? Because Georgia's run blocking is pretty good. They're doing a good job of run blocking.
They're doing really well, right? They're
not doing great at pass pro, but their run blocking is good. And Nate Frazier just, I don't know, man. There's a lot about him that looks like a RB1, the best running back on the field, but the results haven't followed the way you would expect. Some of the big plays, explosive plays for him are few and far between. We called it in the offseason. I was like, he didn't break a lot of plays last year, and we were like, well, that's because our offensive line didn't block that well on the second level, but I don't think his vision's great, he's been a little bit better at running through tackles, but that's not his thing either. He goes down pretty quick because he's geared up. He's geared all the way up. As soon as he touches the ball, there's no change of pace and patience. And some of that is really, really effective, to change of pace, to be able to have that burst. But you don't burst at them. You don't keep that same speed the whole time. You have to have that change of speed. Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? In horse racing, they'll put blinders on the side of a horse, on the side of his eyes, so he'll just focus on exactly what's straight in front of him. To me, it feels like Frazier sometimes has blinders on the side. Like he's not seeing everything. It's assigned hole, get to hole, go fast, hit somebody, fall down. And that's kind of the way he's averaging, 4.6 yards a carry right now, which is respectable, but it's not elite. It's certainly not elite. It's not really great. It's not really all that good. It's just fine.
Not considering your competition that you played.
Exactly. Not considering what you've been playing. His long run. Would you like to guess on the longest Nate Frazier run this year?
13 yards.
12. You were spot on. Long of 12 yards. So what I've noticed is I look at your colleagues, the other guys that do what you do, and if you take, I think Chauncey has been a more exciting runner. I think Phillips has been a more exciting runner. I think Gunner Stockton has been a more exciting runner that has done more than Frazier to this point in the season. So who knows exactly what the deal is there? Can it get better? Sure. But this is what we've seen so far. He fumbled early in the game and spent an entire possession on the bench. His teammates had to come. He was in the dumps. He was down in the dumps. His teammates had to come pull him out. It was obvious to me it was more than the fumble that's bothering him. And he's got to be aware of this perception out there, and it's got to be something that weighs on him, because when they get that first and goal at they get down there to score right before the half, where we had that debacle, 6 plays and couldn't score. Frazier
against Florida a few years ago.
Frazier comes in. He's we missed a block, but Frazier's got to put his head down and get in. And instead, he runs into the guy and falls down. And Kirby is literally touching his heart, saying it's a heart play. You've got to want it to put that in the end zone. And so, I don't know. I don't want to say it's too early to say Nate may be a head case. You know, a guy that can't get out of his own head long enough to go out there and have some fun and play football. But you'll look at a team and say, oh, they're handling the run pretty well. And then you put Phillips in, he goes for 30. You put Chauncey in, he goes for 15 and runs over 3 people. And then we put Nate in. All of a sudden, the defense looks better again.
It's true.
That's just what I keep noticing. And as a team, they're running the ball really well. But Frazier has the best assortment of physical tools of any of the guys we just named. If you're going to combine size, strength, balance, agility, speed, he's got all that. But he just hasn't put it together yet.
There's some of the nuances in there that haven't shown up yet, it feels like. But he is a spectacular dude.
Yes.
Spectacular mindset, and he loves Georgia football and loves his teammates. They love him. And so that's just saying what we've seen on the field. We love Nate Frazier, and we hope.
Oh, gosh, yes.
You know, there's still a lot of time for him to be that back. We're just looking for who's the best. I mean, he may be a better back. He may be better at the number 2 spot, at running back too. Maybe Chauncey is the best running back. I don't know. It could very well be the case. He's getting a good many carries too. And then of course, Phillips is getting a third amount, it looks like. So he's cornered of specialty backs, but man, he looks stronger this year, and
he does.
His vision's really good. He runs to grass very well, so we love to watch him because of explosiveness. And he's ran the ball well so far.
There's speed, and then there's elite speed, and Phillips has elite speed. You can see the difference when he has the ball.
Man, he had one play where he reversed field and then outran those angles. Yeah, and almost stayed in bounds to get in because and Gunner was behind him. Gunner already threw his hand up. He's like he thought he was going to score. He just couldn't quite keep his balance to not step out.
Yep.
But yeah, he's got something special, and that's a good thing. Both of those, I feel better about our running back room just because of Bowens and Phillips.
Yeah.
And so I even if something happened, if let's say Frazier was hurt or dinged up and couldn't play, or if he just got demoted a little bit or lost some of his carries, I feel good that we have the right room. And we still got guys trying to get healthy like McCray, and we haven't seen Roderick Robinson just yet. Bo Walker either. So we're still some more options. Those guys are just maybe not quite ready.
Yeah. Well, Bo Walker has 1 carry, I believe. That's about it. Yeah.
All right. So yes, there are a lot of things that have given us concern, especially us headed on the road for a big game in a big-time environment Saturday. However, this is Georgia football.
That's right.
This is Georgia football. And if you have got so much up in your feelings, like we have been, then you haven't been paying attention to a Kirby Smart team, especially when they play some of these schools that you think you should just run right out of the building. It doesn't always happen because this is what Georgia does, and it doesn't necessarily affect the big game on the horizon.
Right. That's a huge point, Troop. The MO, you could even say that for Kirby, the way he does things is I don't think we'll ever know exactly what he's looking at, looking for, or hoping to achieve when they play these weaker teams, okay? But it's obviously something. And I know that this past Saturday was frustrating. If you watched our rapid reaction show, which about 3,000 of you did, so thanks for that. But if you watched that, you heard the frustration and concern. But like I said, this is more true to our general frame of mind on this show. This is Kirby Smart, and this is the Georgia Bulldogs. If you go, let's just take the perfect season, okay? 2022. Troop, in 2022, in week 4, we played Kent State, and you were somewhere. You were like at a wedding or something.
Yep.
And I was like giving you updates on the game. I remember that. And I was like, I cannot believe this. They're going to try and figure out a way to lose to Kent State. That final score ended up being Dawgs 39, Kent State 22. And everybody said, oh, my gosh, what's wrong with Georgia? What's wrong with Stetson
Bennett?
Bennett?
They pointed to that game the whole season. And Georgia went undefeated that year.
Right.
They pointed that to the whole season, our opponents. Like, well, you couldn't even blow out Kent State. We're not too worried about you once the playoffs get here.
Yeah, that's one of those lessons Ohio State found out the hard way because they were the loudest about it. Anyway, the very next week, Troop Brinson, we got into that that slugfest with the mighty, and I mean this is as a joke, Missouri. Missouri's much better now. No offense, we love Missouri. But we got into a slugfest with Missouri, a game, I'm going to be completely honest, we probably should have lost that game.
Yes.
Georgia had some late game heroics and eked that one out 26-22. And they have some other good games after that. They looked really good against Auburn. They do really well. They get near the end of the season next to the last week, week 11, Troop Brinson. This is right before the postseason, right? Week 11, 16-6 against Kentucky. So the panic button from Georgia was pressed. Everybody, even our own fans, going into the SEC title game, going into the Peach Bowl, were saying this team has proven they're just not elite anymore because they couldn't handle Kent State. They couldn't dominate Missouri. They couldn't dominate Kentucky. Yeah, and then what happened?
Yeah.
What's the number? What's the total number? 92 plus 60. What is 100 and what they score in the next? It was, let's see, 50 plus. It was 50 points, 42 points, 65 points. Next three games.
But you're doing math, folks. He's doing math.
I'm doing the math. There you go. 50-30 LSU. That 42-41 heartbreaker for Ohio State fans, and then the 65-7 beatdown. 157 points in 3 games, 65-7, and a national championship. And you know what, Troop? I haven't heard Kent State mentioned again since you and I mentioned it getting ready to do the show this week. That's the last time I've heard it mentioned. But we were at the exact same spot as we were, not exact same, a very similar spot after this Austin Peay thing. So that's just some perspective. That's all I can tell you.
It doesn't mean. I mean, we don't have Bowers and McConkey and Rosamie Jack Saint, who were looking back now. That trio was spectacular. Yeah. But there are some playmakers who just haven't. Who, when we look back in a couple of years, they may be some of the very similar playmakers that we said we wish we had one of those guys again. Wish we had Branch again, or Noah Thomas, or or Talon Taylor. I think he's a guy who's going to get an opportunity to make some big plays this season. I will say, watching this the past few days, and maybe hearing some other analysts' takes as they looked at it as well, I do feel better about it. Yeah. We wanted to give you both sides of it, but I do feel better. I watched intently Gunner Stockton, and there were some issues, and what we just mentioned them, but also he made some good decisions, and he's really tough to tackle. That's a great thing. But he made some good decisions and got the ball to some of his playmakers where they could do something. So, as fans, we're getting aggravated that he's throwing these little dump offs, and you're like, come on, throw the ball, cut it loose. And he's still getting 6, 7, 8 yards off of it or more. And so it's like a run play extension. So they're keeping the chains moving. And he hasn't put the ball in harm's way a whole lot. We want him to do that time to time to take some of those risks. But based on what he's seeing, a lot of times the right play, he was making the right read. It just doesn't feel great when you can't see the whole field. And sometimes we're watching the game, you don't see the whole field. You don't know what's going on. Right. And you're wondering, why aren't we calling these plays? Why won't he throw the ball? And then they maybe call a shot play, and the pass protection breaks down. He gets somebody right in his face and has to leave the pocket. So there were some issues with that, but I felt better about watching him play. And it's just a little small fraction of a couple things that if he cleans up, with the playbook's going to be a lot different, folks. And we'll talk about the way some of these other teams approach these games. And I don't necessarily agree with it. It's entertaining. But Georgia will not show you their cards in the early in the season. They will. I mean, not saying they don't try. They would love to beat you by 60 points. They're gonna limit those plays and try to execute. They're not going to show you the whole kitchen sink like some of these teams do. Just very limited, and they anticipate working on that, and the players doing a good job and putting points on the board. But you just won't see that. That's not what a Georgia team is all about. That's why some of these games are a lot closer than you would like them to be.
Exactly. And you're going to see the reason that we're polar opposites with Heupel, right? We're going to play Heupel. Polar opposites. Heupel wants to score 77 points whenever he can against a weak team, and really just take those athletes out there and really show them off. And what we've seen is he's emptied the bag of tricks. He gets into these bigger games, and He doesn't really have anything. You got a lot of falling flat, and so it's the exact opposite with Kirby's approach. And I can tell you, there's two points I want to make in this segment. Number one, Kirby's not changing, folks. And then second, with the Gunners' struggles, quarterbacks that have trouble seeing the field, that maybe look at the pass rush rather than looking at their players down, keeping their eyes downfield. Is that a fixable thing? And I will say it's about half and half. Some quarterbacks recognize this is a problem and get better. Some quarterbacks stay stuck on this their entire career. And so it's a pivotal point for Gunner. He's shown the personality and the mental makeup to always want to get better. He's extremely humble. He's always looking to improve. So can he make those small corrections? You know, the difference between a touchdown to Talon Taylor in the first and second game was less than a second. It was less than a second. One little hesitation, you get hit when you throw the ball flops to the ground. We're not talking about huge changes, but can those changes be made? And can they be made before it gets really loud in Knoxville this weekend?
Well, I mean, it's not like Gunner hasn't done it before. He doesn't have that many games under his belt, but we saw him do it against Notre Dame. He hooked up on some nice plays and threw the ball downfield. We've seen that. He has it in his repertoire. And Coach Smart said it after the game. He said, "I just need him to play like he practices. He has been outstanding in practice. We just need to put it on the field this year." And some of these teams they're defending in a way that they want Georgia to throw the underneath pass. They don't want to give up the explosive play. So they are kind of creating that where there's not a lot of opportunities deep. And so Gunner's reading that accurately. And there's a couple of plays he could take a shot for. But the defenses have tried to keep that from happening. And I will say some other positive things. The run blocking's been really good. And so we've been running the ball, and I just feel like just watching the players, not even who the competition was, but the way you see these linemen move and the way they hit, and you see the tight ends are blocking so much better than they did last year. So I feel really good about our run blocking, and I think the offensive line is getting healthy, and so we'll maybe have better pass pro. I think Green's supposed to play Saturday. I don't count on Gaston playing. I actually do count on Glover playing at that right guard. But they've created some depth there.
Right.
With Uini, that's how you say his name, and Bo Hewley. Those guys have got in there and did some things well. Now, Jaw Jackson didn't make the most of his time. He's not quite ready. We saw him, and he was kind of all over the place in his execution and his footwork. And so, but we did create some depth there, and I do feel better about where we will be in this third game. And we're going to need it. We're going to need to communicate really well because Tennessee is going to come after Georgia. They're going to try to stop up the run. And they're going to come after the quarterback. I don't have any doubt whatsoever that Tennessee is looking to get Gunner Stockton into making some mistakes.
Yeah, Tennessee is a running team. They like to stop the run, and they like to run the ball. They do it in a very odd way, a gimmicky way. But on offense, they are a top rushing team, and on defense, they pride themselves in stopping the run. They do it by overloading the box. And so Gunner is going to get a chance. If we can pick up the blitz, I was saying this earlier on our thread, if Georgia can just pick up the extra rusher or two, Tennessee will bring 6 very often. If we can pick up the extra rusher or 2, Gunner's going to have some real shots, and we'll get a chance to see what those guys can do. But I'm a little apprehensive. We're going to go into Tennessee with an offensive line that doesn't have a lot of experience together as a unit. But, you know, Tennessee's dealing with its own stuff too. It's game 3 for Tennessee as well, guys. So there's a lot of chemistry and things like that that'll be ironed out as the season goes along, and both teams are dealing with the same deal.
Yeah, and we'll break down Tennessee later on in the week on Countdown to Kickoff, but they have some defensive injuries as well, and there's some key spots. So
at the wrong places.
You know, they might not be able to attack Georgia the way they want to. They may be at risk of those explosive plays if they do that consistently, and Georgia catches them. And Georgia's going to look to take some of those shots. I 100% believe it. I will say that one thing we haven't mentioned at all in this first few minutes of the podcast is that our defense is nasty.
The nastiest.
Those guys are, man, there's so many of them, and They are playing spectacularly right now. I don't care. Again, you can look at who the competition was. It's not always about just statistics. You got to look at what these players are doing and the capabilities. And we've got some first rounders on this defense, and first and second rounders for sure. And they are starting to play like it. The learning curve has been really quick. I mean, some of these guys are sophomore, and we've got a couple of freshmen too who look really good though.
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, we've talked about this before. Kirby's defense scheme is complicated, so it's rare that young kids excel in it. We're seeing that right now, though. They are flying to the ball, and they know the defense. They know their assignment so well. They're having a lot of fun on the field. You can see it. There's a really great spirit on the defense. They know how dominant they are and how good they can be if they follow their assignments, do what they're supposed to do, and get their teammates' backs. And then the pass rush troop, they are collapsing the pocket. The pocket just flattens it. I know it's lesser competition, but that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to destroy the pocket with lesser competition, and those quarterbacks have seconds to throw because the pressure this year, unlike last year, is coming just as strong up the middle as it is from the edges.
Yes. And a couple of players I want to focus on and mention, I'll do it on different levels here, but Kristen Miller and Elijah Griffin. And Miller, I guess he's a third year. He's a fourth year player. Miller and of course Elijah Griffin is a true freshman. Both of those guys look spectacular. I mean, you cannot. They are both very difficult to block.
Yes.
And so then those are interior players who are gonna. That's what was missing the last couple of years. You needed that interior defense who could collapse the or it's going to come right up the middle. It's really tough when you can do that because that opens up a lot of stuff for your linebackers as well. But those two are game wreckers, and I can't wait to see what they do in Neyland. And then on the outside, I watched Chris Cole just turn into
that's a top 10 pick right there. That's a top 10 pick, Troop Brinson.
They're using him like Jalen Walker a lot, but he is a pass rusher too. And we didn't know that how we're going to use him that way.
Right.
But he's one of those guys who can get back there. You saw him make a play with that when he bent around that left tackle and just had the bend and the burst to get to the quarterback. Man, that's special. That's very unique to be that size and have that kind of athletic ability and to be able to cover, and he can cover tight ends. He's great all over the field. So that dude, and then at the very back is Bolden.
Yeah.
And man,
maybe the best player on the defense. Maybe the best player on the team. Yeah, exactly. Bolden has completely removed entire sections of the field. He takes half the field away in the secondary, which is something that elite safeties do. But exactly to your point on the line, the penetration up the middle. Do you know that they're having to double team Elijah every time he's in? He draws a double team every time. And to let the casual know what that does, that means whoever is whatever linebacker is just off of him has no one to block him. And that's when you see these linebacker tackles for losses, or you see a hit right at the line of scrimmage. He penetrates so fast, he draws a double team. Well, that's the guy that's going to the second level to hit the linebacker. He has to abandon that to help out because of the penetration off the snap. That was missing last year. We had guys that could anchor that area of the field, but we didn't have guys that could blow up that area of the field. And we seem to have two that are dangerous, and there's more behind them. But we have two that look, we don't throw around Jalen Carter's name loosely, but that type of impact out of a freshman, we're seeing glimpses of it. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter type, we're seeing that type of impact. Yeah.
He is that kind of dude. So he was one of those few who's rare guys who meets the hype. You hear all these players hyped up to come out of high school. He's been just as advertised. And we don't even have to mention, but you got guys like we said, Jordan Hall and McLeod. Quinn Johnson looks good as well. And we didn't even mention, of course, C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilton. Man, I feel like there's superstars on every level. And the great thing about Georgia's schedule is they're going to get to showcase themselves on the biggest stages, like this Saturday night in a couple weeks against Alabama, and of course Georgia's got Texas on the schedule as well. So those guys are going to make names for themselves this year, and we're going to look back at the multitude of just freak athletes who are playing at a very, very high level. So I'm excited about this defense. I think Tennessee's going to have a lot of trouble scoring. I think a lot of teams are going to struggle to score against Georgia because so far they haven't even had to get exotic or do anything special on defense whatsoever. No. It's just basically lining up and coming after you, coming to get you. And when they need to dial something up, Smooch. I mean, you hadn't seen any corner blitzes. You hadn't seen a lot of these delayed blitzes or just different techniques to get to the quarterback or to cause trouble. I think that Aguiar, I don't want to get too much into Tennessee because we got another episode to talk about that. But Aguiar is a quarterback who, if you do pressure him, he's shown the propensity to put it up. And a game like Saturday's, turnovers would be huge. Either team that just loses that turnover battle, it's gonna be a big advantage for because it could be a very tight game, a low scoring game.
I completely agree. I'm looking forward to the countdown to kickoff later in the week for that very reason. This game shapes up to be pivotal for both teams. Tennessee every year they'll have some sort of success and they'll claim that means we're here, we're there, we're contenders now. A win against Georgia would be that for them. You beat Georgia, you're a contender. And then for Georgia. Will the real Georgia Bulldogs please stand up type of thing. We're going to find out Saturday. We're waiting to see if this has all been building to something or if this is a sign of a problem. That's what, as fans, we're looking for.
Yeah, Georgia's going to have an opportunity offensively too, I think. And here are players that I think are going to have a little coming out party Saturday. I think running the ball, you're going to have Dwight Phillips and Bell. I think Bell is going to take an end around and turn a big play. Why do I always have trouble with his first name? I always have trouble with 86, Dylan Bell.
Because you got Jeremy Bell on the team too.
I always forget his first name, but I think Bell's going to make a couple of huge plays. He did it a couple of years ago. Was it 2 years ago against Tennessee, where they threw for a touchdown and had he scored 2 or 3 different ways. But I think they're going to use him to run the ball, something like that, because he's a tough runner and he gets upfield quickly. And I really think that Phillips is that highlight waiting to happen. But I also think that the wide receivers with Branch and Talon Taylor have an opportunity for some big plays, especially against an injured defensive backfield that that Tennessee has. And then you got the big guys, Thomas and Colby Young. I mean, if you're going to come after Georgia's offense, just pick them up, give him 2 seconds to get rid of the ball. You're going to have some one-on-one opportunities with guys who are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", against some inexperienced DBs. That's usually a recipe for success for Georgia.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think on the Phillips thing, when the way Tennessee stops the run is to overload the box and to get very close to the line of scrimmage and to come upfield hard, right? Very, very aggressive. The problem with that is if the runner slips past you, there's not a lot of defenders behind that aggressive wave coming in. If Phillips takes one and squirts through somewhere, you may see, instead of a 20-yard run, you may see a 60-yard run. I can really see that happening because no one is running him down. I will say that now. I think the only player that could run him down plays on the Georgia Bulldogs. So I don't think anybody's catching him if he gets past everybody. But over at the wide receiver position, I really think Colby Young showed something this past week. He made the most out of what could have been a minor contribution. You said it right. You said it right. He caught some short passes and turned into a fullback. That's what you said. Yeah, he turned right into a fullback. He ran over people. He ran through people. He jumped over. He hurdled a person. As a matter of fact, that's the picture I shared right before we went on tonight. When you see a player like that, that is a Georgia Bulldog type of style, the way he plays. So I look for him to possibly have a big game. Branch is, of course, the high-level ticket item, right? It's Branch. Branch is a superstar. He's ridiculous with the ball in his hands. And so I'd love to see Dylan Bell step up as that sort of counter X factor to Branch in this game, where one of those two guys can blow the roof off at any moment. I'd love to see that happen. So that'd be good. And I'm really eager to see, because we have not seen a defense just line up and come after the Dogs this year, right? We've only played 2 games, but everybody else has played it kind of safe. And so I'm really eager to see that. What happens when you line up and you come right at them, and Kirby opens that playbook up past page 2, and what happens?
You got to be a little concerned if you're Tennessee about coming after Stockton, because he can hurt you.
Yeah.
He's going to break a tackle and he's going to pick up some big yards. You're worried about that.
That's a great point. The first guy might not get him, and if that happens, what are you going to do?
And I think that having a quarterback who can run the ball usually plays out so well in the red zone. It's about inside the 10-yard line. Now, it didn't play out that well in that one possession right before the half this past weekend, but Georgia didn't really try to run the ball with a quarterback at all. They just put that in their back pocket and said, no, we're going to do that. But that's that hidden factor for being really successful in the red zone, is having a quarterback you have to account for running.
Yeah, and I think that back to what you were the goal line debacle at the end, there's no more evidence that Kirby Smart was working on things in that game than the fact that they didn't run a QB sneak from the 6-inch line, right? That's a gimme touchdown. But that's not what they were doing. Kirby wanted to prove that you guys got to want it more than them. Here's the play we're running. Go block your guy. And they didn't get it done. And so it gives Kirby more tape to look at, more things to correct. I really believe that. Had he just wanted to score the touchdown, you go up the middle with Gunner Stockton. I mean,
so that whole series kind of gave us a bad taste in our mouth. If you scored there, and you should have scored, then it feels a little bit different. That was one of those things that kind of just really put the nail in it and said, okay, I'm ticked off, and I'm going to be ticked off no matter what happens in the second half.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We probably don't do the type of rapid reaction we did if they score that touchdown there. It would probably be a little different.
So I hope Georgia does this, and they haven't always done this. What I'm about to say, it feels like they do spread the ball around, but I heard Saban say something the other day that makes so much sense. It's so simple. But he said, in some of these big games, in the toughest moments, it's not plays, it's players. Get your players, get those special players the ball. Just get it to them. Don't worry. It doesn't matter what kind of play you draw up. Get them the ball. Let them make plays. And so I hope Georgia kind of starts to do that. They identify a couple of these players. Hey, just get them the ball, throw it up, let them go get it, or get it to them in space. I don't care if a little swing pass. When they've done that, so I expect to see more of that. Get your guys the ball. Let them do what you brought them to Georgia to do.
Love it. Absolutely. Yeah. Just put the ball in their hands, leave the rest of it. Gunner could actually learn from that too. You get the ball to the guy that's really fast and let him go do his thing, and trust him to come down with it. That's the next step I want him to take this week. Trust the guy that you're throwing the ball to do his job.
You got to trust. He doesn't practice. You got to do it Saturday. Yeah. Let's put this to bed in terms of the Georgia Austin Peay game. I do want to do a little read and react right now as we talk about what happened across the country.
Let's do it.
All right, so we've already been talking about how Georgia approaches some of these early games differently than teams across the country, and we saw that. We saw teams like FSU put almost 50 points in the first half on their opponent. We saw USC scored tons of points. I think they lead college football in the first 2 games in points scored, and they're so disappointed that they're not even in the top 25.
Isn't that cute?
Tennessee does the same thing. They want to run the score up. They want to get everybody excited. Alabama, you saw, they just decided since they lost that first game against Florida State that they weren't holding anything back. They're going to come out and just show you every play they have in the book. And,
that is 100% correct.
Just turn it all loose, which to me, Smooch, shows you a little bit of insecurity again. When you do that as an offense or as a team, as a program, then you're not really comfortable in the process. You don't like the or you're trying to create some positive attention over moving your team along in stages and steps the way you need to. It seems, I think Kirby Smart does it well. It doesn't feel the right way, but we've got evidence to prove that it has been very successful. And when you really are using these things as teaching moments, there's certain things you're trying to accomplish. It's not just how many points can we score, and I'm gonna throw the kitchen sink at you to make sure I do that, and I'm gonna keep scoring at that point.
Troop, the hardest working player is a player that is humble, that has been humbled or is humble. If you're Kalen DeBoer and you just took a team that was arrogant and unprepared, you took them to Florida State and you were embarrassed there. You had players hanging out until 1:30 in the morning, getting DoorDash, that type of thing. If you've just done that, what you want is a team that puts its nose to the grindstone and gets back to working. My point is that you're more who's more humble, do you think, right now? Georgia, who had a lackluster game against Austin Peay, they know they have so much to work on because there was a goal line stand when the other team was outmanned. That's got to sting. Where's the sting from a 73-0 beatdown of a bad school? You see what I'm saying? That with Kalen DeBoer running up the score, you lose the drive to convince your team you have so much to work on. If you beat someone 73-0, you're not really convinced you need to work on anything all that hard. You just won 73-0. And that, I think, is going to prove itself to not be the way to go for that particular team and those players.
Yeah, I think they I can understand why they did it, because they were losing the battle, and from the outside and from the inside, these players kind of needed something to say, okay, we're still Alabama, aren't we? Mm-hmm. And so yeah, he turned it loose because of that, I felt like. But some of these other teams, like we said, USC, FSU, no, buddy, they're just trying to be. They want to be flashy. They want to get the attention on them, and that's one way to approach it. And other teams have to stop you, but like you don't have to. The game doesn't have to go that way to still accomplish what you want, and for it to be a moment where you're progressing. I'm not going to hate on teams for scoring a lot of points, or maybe I am. It depends on how that comes off. But some of these teams consistently do it. Tennessee consistently does it. USC tries to do it, and then they're shocked. They're surprised.
Yes,
when they are unprepared in a game when games really matter. They aren't quite ready for that situation. They aren't ready because, like you said, when you're winging it and scoring points at will, and the coaches aren't really putting any hurdles in front of you, they're just turning it loose and letting you overwhelm a team that was never going to match up anyway. Right. I just don't know how much there is to gain. I mean, I'm kind of rambling around on that, but I think it gets down to what is there to gain by allowing your team to do that. And it may not feel as good to us fans when Kirby Smart puts it in a little smaller box and says, "Hey, you fight. These are the weapons and the tools I'm going to give you. It should be enough to win conventionally."
That's
not do
it.
it. I'm not
nailed it.
Not going to deviate from that. I'm not going to give you the whole assortment. This is what you got to do well, and you got to execute this, and then we'll move on. Once we play a team like Tennessee or Alabama, all bets are off. They're gonna. The whole playbook is going to be at their disposal.
Right. No, I don't have anything to add to that. I think you absolutely nailed it. I think that's exactly right. Kirby hands you a kit before every game and says, these are your tools for this game. Go beat them. I've given you more than you need. Go get it done. And in an odd way, it puts his team in a situation where they still have to work hard and struggle to stay up to the standard, to reach the standard that Kirby has created. Could Kirby walk out there, open the playbook wide open, and blow out a team by 70? Yes. And then how do you get all over a team about failing to meet the standard afterwards? I guess that was the point I was trying to make earlier, is that his method is to have things to work on all the time to keep his players humbled and their nose to the grindstone, so to speak. And you can't argue with his results. You can say it makes for a really bad watching experience on my couch, which is true, but the end results often prove that he was right. So benefit of the doubt. Unless Tennessee beats us in Knoxville, then we can just go crazy.
Yeah, and it's not that we don't think that Kirby would be happy with a 55-0 dominant win, but he's not going to make it that easy for his players. He's going to limit what they have at their disposal to make that happen. It's not a lot of tricking and sleight of hand going on. They're just going to line up and beat you and work on the plays they want to work on. I do say there was a game that didn't turn out the way you would expect it to early on.
Which one was that?
One reason. One reason South Florida is actually pretty good now.
Yeah,
Lagway, and we said hold your horses. Looks like he's got all the talent, but he's one of those quarterbacks that hadn't done it yet, and he was getting all the accolades before he had actually done it. And he didn't look that great against South Florida, and they lost on a field goal late.
Yeah. we were lining up to record our rapid reaction show. Troop and I were getting set up to do that, and we were watching that game. So we wanted the rapid reaction show to reflect our frustration, but it was hard to conceal the joy from watching Florida lose on that field goal. Right, we were 10 seconds from going live or hitting record when that field goal went in. But yeah, Florida messed around and found themselves in a bad situation, and they had no way to get out of it. And if your quarterback is the guy, he figures a way to get you out of that situation. We talked earlier about that Georgia-Missouri game a few years ago. Stetson figured a way to get his team out of it. Lagway did not, and Troop called this all summer, all offseason. Pump the brakes on Lagway. Let's not crown him just yet. And it was just proven right. I do think South Florida came in, they ranked 18th now?
They're ranked
I think
now,
they're top 20. I think they're top 20 even. So good
yep,
on them.
18th, I think. Yeah, but Florida shouldn't lose that game. No. We know that. Florida is a team that's gotten better. It looked like they gotten better and had but that's a tough game. It's just like the Alabama loss to Florida State. And Alabama is a much better roster than Florida State. Florida's a much better roster than South Florida. You can't afford to lose those games because your schedule is going to hammer you.
Yeah.
Those are games you got to count as wins. I'm sure that Florida's got one of the toughest schedules in the country, and to lose to South Florida, that's gonna be really tough to navigate for the rest of the season.
Florida is the only school that I would say the last 2 seasons has had a harder schedule than Georgia. I don't think there's another. I think Georgia's
just
schedule
because Georgia can't be on Georgia's schedule.
Because Georgia can't be on Georgia's schedule. Exactly right. Georgia can't play against itself, even though they tried on Saturday. But yeah, these are the games you have to put away so that when you get into these dogfights and SEC play, you've got some wins in the bank. This is not the way to do it. This is more losing to a South Florida is like losing twice, because if you look at the SEC gauntlet they have to run, that's just going to make that loss glare so much brighter as the season comes to a close.
Oklahoma looked good against Michigan. Mateer
looks
is
good,
very
man.
talented. Yeah, he's very talented. He's not a great passer, but man, is he dangerous? A dangerous quarterback.
He's got an it factor about him. Yeah.
Yep. I think Castellanos is much better than I thought he would be. When you come out talking as much as he did, you expect somebody to get brought back down to sea level at some point.
That's the other thing. He hadn't been punched in the mouth yet, so I'm kind of waiting until that happens before I pass judgment on him. Let's see what happens the first time he faces true adversity.
Yeah, but I did watch. We did watch those games. Ty Simpson had a better game as well, but again, against some of these overmatched directional schools, you should. And USC. I'm sure we'll have a segment on USC before long, but we're so in the middle of what's going on in the SEC. They don't matter much on the national level anymore because they won 2 games, just blown teams out, and they think they should be not just in the top 25. They think we should be in the top 10.
Yeah,
because they don't have many tough games. Mooch. They really have a very conducive schedule this year, and so they may get through their schedule only 1 or 2 losses. But
they were complaining this time last year about not being ranked number 1. I remember that. They had a similar type of start, similar type of thing. It's the same movie over and over and over. And then they pop up on our show.
Then they pop up on the DFA.
That's right.
I hope you folks have had some time to process last weekend, and we still won it 28-6. We're not talking about a loss.
That's exactly
like Florida
right.
is right now.
Yeah.
We just have very high standards, and the coaching staff has very high standards as well. So does Georgia.
Yep.
And based on the evidence I've seen in the past, you're going to see a great game Saturday, and Georgia will come out and look like the team that you expected them to look like. I don't know if it'll be, I expect win by a couple of scores. I don't know if I'm not going to make a prediction right now, but I do feel like that defense that Georgia has is going to make a lot of things easier, and offense has got nowhere to go but up as well. And so I feel good about that. And it took a few days to kind of flush what happened, the way it felt Saturday, especially right before the half. But we did, and you could tell just the way the podcast went. We kind of balanced it out as well.
Yeah, I think that this podcast is indicative of what a true Georgia fan experiences. You've got somebody's going to watch this show and say, you guys came down on both sides. That's 100% true. That's exactly what it is to be a fan. You've got to say, look, this was terrible, and this is awesome, and I want more great than bad. You've got to be able to do that. And so we've run the gamut of emotion, frustration, and expectation and anticipation for this Saturday, and that's what we'll really hit on in the countdown to kickoff coming up.
Yeah, countdown to kickoff, baby. We'll do that in a couple days. But we're just glad to get this out for you. Check us out on YouTube, of course. That's where everything's happening, and we just appreciate all the support, all the comments. So many comments on that rapid reaction. I was shocked, Smooch.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Jones County High School. Picked up a bunch of follows there in the last few days. So shout out to those boys.
All right, guys. For Smooch Moncrief, this is Troop Brinson saying so long. We'll see you soon.
Where is it? There it is.
This is the Dog Show with Troop and Smooch.
It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog